Okay, I got a question. It's from Drunken Som. He said, what is your number one philosophy / goal as a trainer?
You want to start with this one?
Oh man, all right. You're gonna take all the time to think, and I'll just have to put it out there right off the top of my head.
Or it's vice versa.
No. So here's what I think. I'll go first. Here's what I think. First, he said, as a trainer, not as a business owner, which I think is an important distinction to make. Because obviously you can be both at the same time, but I think it's sort of like a Venn diagram. You have your trainer brain, you have your business owner brain, and you want to merge them together to get the best of both worlds. But also there are separate entities that need to be separate in order so that you can have the best of both, because they are very unique and individual. So as a trainer, my number one, I almost think of it, and I'm not a doctor at all. I am not a doctor, period, end of story, not a doctor. But one thing that doctors, part of their oath is first do no harm, which I think is a really important, it's an important philosophy. It's an important tool. It's an important line to really align yourself with, especially not just as you're coaching people, but as you're putting out content for people. I think is a very important philosophical guideline to bear in mind is first do no harm, where I think that might be the most important thing for me, especially as a coach who is creating content, because the reason I make content is to help people. I want to help people. I want to improve their lives. I want to make fitness more easy to understand, more accessible, more enjoyable. And while I want to make it easy to understand and more accessible and more enjoyable, the guiding light to all of that is still first do no harm. And I think when I'm making a piece of content, I really have to ask myself, is this going to hurt someone? Is this going to give the wrong message? Is this going to create fear? Is this going to damage their relationship with food or exercise? Is this going to cause them to stop exercising in some way? Is this going to do more harm than good? And so for me, I think that's my guiding philosophy, guiding principle of my education. Everything stems from wanting to help them. But first, I have to make sure I'm not hurting people. And if I do hurt people, if I have said something that could potentially hurt someone, recognizing it, apologizing, correcting it, making sure that people are aware of the mistakes that you've made, I think is also very important. So I think letting the guiding principle be first do no harm. And if you do harm, make sure they know that you've changed your mind, you changed your opinion. I just saw someone do that today. There's a great coach or a researcher who made a post 2 days ago that did harm. It was a post that was inaccurate, and it was more based on his emotion, and led people to believe something that was false. And then today he clarified it, and he actually, hey, I did this the other day. I said this was incorrect. It wasn't complete. Here's my actual stance on this from a more logical perspective, which I loved. I thought that was fantastic. So I think the first do no harm is something that we can take from doctors and keep in mind.
I would argue, because that was the first thing that came to mind for me.
Oh,
I would argue that I'm serious, but
hey, you go
copy
first.
my
you go
answer.
First. Oh yeah. I was thinking that was the first thing that came to my mind too.
if we're forced to choose one thing, I think that should be every trainer's first guiding principle. And maybe guiding principle is the wrong term, or number one goal might be the wrong term, but like at the base of every program you design, at the base of every piece of advice that you give, at the base of every piece of content you make, at the base of everything, that should be first. You don't want to leave this person in worse shape mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually than when they came to you, right? So bare minimum, they're leaving the same they came to you, not worse.